what happened CE, what's going to happen on Coronation Street tonight, what happened last week in the football match. Sometimes they can be harmful because they can be negative, and we want to change that into a more positive, productive statement, which is useful. Now, the communication exercise I do and have done with coaches for a long time is changing the negative into a positive. For an example I'll give you, for example, is, you know, don't run across the road. So the first thing we think of is running across the road. Don't lose the ball. Okay, classic one. I've done with a lot of football coaches. They'll coach youngsters. Don't lose the ball off the top of their voice, and the first thing you see is that the young footballer startle literally, and they'll lose the ball because the way the mind processes information, we can't process a negative instruction. So if I say don't think of a pink giraffe, the first thing you think about is a pink giraffe, because the mind cannot process a negative instruction. So don't, and whatever we say thereafter is that specific instruction. So a classic one is when I do staff training for gym instructors, you'll get some poor soul come off the street to join a gym who's never done any gym work in their life, and you've got some instructor telling them how to do a specific technique on a row machine or on a gym apparatus, and it's like, don't do this, don't do that, don't bend your knees, don't bend your back. And what we want to do is maybe change that. Tell them specifically what you want them to do. You know, rather than don't bend your back, keep your back straight. Rather than don't bend your knees, keep your legs straight. So being more specific in our instruction will get a more favourable outcome. Don't lose the ball, keep possession. The one that used to annoy me about a specific coach I used to work with, he'd always stand up and scream off the top of his voice, don't foul, don't foul. And the first thing that would happen, it'd put it in the referee's head, it'd put it in the player's head, and it'd put it in the other person's head, and bang, foul. I said, do you really have to draw any attention to it? If you've got nothing better to say, then don't say anything at all. Or in a training exercise, don't miss the target. And, you know, and the balls are being pinged down the post. Don't miss the target, because the first thing you think of is missing the target. So is it too much of a stress to tell someone to hit the target, hit the far post, hit exactly where you want them to do? If they're doing a technique, break it down in a positive way that the mind can understand. Is far easier. So the one thing that we can do moving away from here is, because a lot of this happens sometimes at a subconscious level, or maybe you're consciously aware of things that you might say as an instruction. Think of an instruction that you might say which is an instruction, a negative instruction, and replace it with a more positive instruction. Okay, it could even be giving someone a technical instruction, and you might think, actually I've told that person not to do this, that and the other, and they've done exactly what it is I told them not to do. Okay, whereas you could break it down and transmit it across in a more positive way, in a way that they actually can implement it easier. Okay, is everyone okay with that one? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what we'll do is, between now and tomorrow, okay, I want you to think of 2 or 3 things that you might say to your performers and turn them around into a positive way. Think of 2 or 3 things you might say to your performers that you feel you could say in a more positive context for them to register a more positive outcome. Okay. The other thing with communication, which is we've got what we call language presuppositions, small words with big meanings. Okay. Some of the words that we'll look at briefly, the word but. How many times have you been in a situation where someone says to you, you've done really well, fantastic, but what's your first reaction when they use the but word? It negotiates everything that's been said beforehand. Okay, so you were great, you performed really well, but and after we've said that word there, the but word, we kind of negotiate everything else that is said beforehand. Okay, so if we're offering an appraisal and we're preparing to give someone sort of appraisal, some of these words happen automatically. I mean, we communicate with people on a day-to-day basis. There's every chance we'll use various words that aren't productive as they should be, but we've got time to think about how we're going to give some feedback. And sometimes what I'll do if I'm giving individuals feedback, I'll just mindfully sort of write something out and make sure that when I'm giving that feedback, I'm doing it with the best possible chance for the person to retain things and take as much as they can from that appraisal or that situation. And what I'll tend to do is replace the but. Some people replace it with however. For some people, however, is just a substitute for but, really. Yet, I may use although. Okay, so if they've performed in a game a certain way, I'll say, okay, I felt you did this really, really well. Your movement was good. You did really well, and talk about tactical side of training of the game. Although we do need to improve in these areas to get to where you want to get to. Although you do need to improve in your heading or your left foot if you're going to reach your target of scoring 20 goals this season, or if you're going to improve your defending. And that has a more compromising structure to it. Then you played really well, but if you don't improve your heading or striking your left foot, it kind of negotiates the positives. So we can highlight the positives. Yeah, in the business we're in, it's all about results, although tends to be possibly a better word to use, following on the points that we want to make across, giving the performers more confidence, and even as well. Try as well. If I said to you, if you had a big event tomorrow, a big sports performance, okay, you had to go out and compete on the big stage, or you had to do something, whatever it was, and I said, go try your best. How would you feel about me? How would you feel about what I said as a coach? Try your best. Anybody? Try your best. How does that make you feel?
It's making you feel like you don't expect them to do very well.
Okay, great point. Fantastic point. Try, as a presupposition in NLP, is effort without success. Try your best.
What would you say then? Do your best.
Well, that could be one of the things that we do. Maybe what we could do is focus on what we want them to do.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe we want them to focus on the strategy. Maybe we want them to focus on specifically what we want them to do. Identify maybe a level of performance they're capable of,
Right.
and highlight. Go out there.
So you wouldn't use that. You wouldn't say like just give it your best shot. Or...
Well, you could do. What is someone's best?
Right.
Well, I think that you could do, and I'm discussing this process without applying it to various ways we would transmit that information. I guess if we were going to encourage someone in the best possible way, what would encourage you? Well, how would you feel? What if you were preparing for a fight, okay, and your coach said to you, Johnny, go try your best? How would you feel?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What could your coach say to you that would make you feel better?
Knock his block off.
Well, there you go. That's what works for you. Brilliant. Exactly. So there we go. You've answered your own question. No, and I think it's a great exercise, and I'm glad that you've come up with that. And I think for the rest of us in the group, fantastic. It's a great learning. Yeah, fantastic learning. Learn more than anything I could explain, because you've put it into reality, what you would like. Okay, so what you would like, so understanding your athlete, what would they like, how would they respond? I know if my coach or teacher or whatever else said to me, go out there and try your best, I'd feel a little bit, well, am I being undermined here? They don't believe I can actually do it. Go out there, yeah, definitely go out there and knock his block off would work for you. because you feel they've got confidence, you can go out there. Yeah.
One of my old trainers when I was boxing this lad, he lost a load of fights, he said, if you lose this fight, don't bother coming back to the gym.
Exactly. Talking about pressure. Exactly. It's like when you see the press conferences and do you ever see the press conferences where you've got in particular the football managers, they'll go out there, the coaches or the players, and they'll talk about a forthcoming fixture, and you can tell in their language pattern they're not confident about the situation. So how do you think it'll go, and how will you perform? Well, we'll go out there and try our best as a unit and see what happens. Well, the thing is, it's not installing confidence in the rest of the team or the team as a whole. If you saw an Alex Ferguson or Mourinho do a press conference, it wouldn't be a question of the team just going out there and trying their best and seeing what happens. Okay, they might not give too much away or come across as being arrogant, so I'm going to go out there and do this, that and the other. You can believe in closed doors. It won't be, lads, go out there and try your best. Go out there and try your best when you're playing Chelsea next week. You know, the winner will go on. You know, the title's riding on the game. Sure as hell won't be that behind closed doors. They may not come across like that in the press conference. It won't be that, or in the environment they're in, even in the press conference. They'll specify how they'll go about doing the best they can. So I think two schools of thought there. One, the execution about how you're going to go out there and do what you've got to do, and if you're going to do a bit of a pep talk, then do it in a way that's going to work well for the performance. So it's just being mindful, and we all do. We all use various language patterns, regardless of how well we think about what we're going to say. There'll be times when we do. There are times when I use try and about myself, and I think, you know, I could have put this across a lot better, and I'll just backtrack on myself. Okay, don't is another word that makes a person think what you don't want them to do. Okay, so they probably weren't going to do that anyway otherwise until you've highlighted it. So the don't word is another presupposition, which sometimes can make the person think. Okay, yet is another powerful word, because yet implies we will get there. Okay, and that's a good way to challenge beliefs. So whenever I get like a young performer come across and say, for me, for example, I don't think I'll ever be able to kick with my left foot. Maybe not yet. Okay, there was a time where you couldn't kick with the other foot. You did do through a series of training, and yet can be quite a powerful presupposition. And when is another powerful presupposition as well, because the power of when implying it's going to happen. When we win, when we achieve